I'm Amanda Duncan, Academic Project Manager at Georgian College, and welcome to Day 3 of RISE. It's been an incredible week of events where we have celebrated research, innovation, and entrepreneurship. Today's focus is on health and wellness. Together, we'll be having an open and honest conversation about the impact of COVID-19, including a presentation of research being done by Georgian faculty in partnership with Waypoint Center for Mental Health, about their efforts to support our frontline healthcare workers. We will also hear from the Center for Changemaking and Social Innovation, where they discuss the successes and challenges of leading change and digital transformation in an online environment. Finally, we will also hear from Canadian and international physicians about the impact of COVID-19 has on our environment, our health, and our society. For our first session, I'm pleased to introduce Megan Kirk. Megan is a motivational speaker, clinical mental health researcher in the field of trauma and PTSD recovery, and a certified mindfulness and registered yoga teacher. Megan specializes in understanding the impact of trauma on the mind and body connection and is dedicated to helping trauma survivors return home to themselves and feel safe within their own skin again. Megan is the founder of the Heal My Trauma program, which started as the first registered clinical trial in Canada to investigate the effectiveness of an online trauma-informed mindfulness intervention for adults with PTSD. Megan has worked as a clinical health coach with the Centre for Addiction and Mental Health and University Health Network in Toronto, Canada. She has had the honor of working with a wide range of individuals, communities, including youth at risk, young adults in transition, professional athletes, cancer survivors, palliative care patients, and their caregivers, and the BIPOC communities. Megan has published several research papers in the behavioral health domain and is an advocate for accessible mental health care that is grounded in trauma-informed care and anti-oppression of marginalized groups. Today, Megan will guide you through a 1-hour class designed to teach you strategies you can use every day in your everyday lives to cope with stress, tension, and anxiety. I can't imagine a better way to start the day. Are you guys ready too? Welcome, Megan.
Thank you so much, Amanda, for that beautiful introduction. And, before we begin, I just want to thank all the incredible staff and individuals behind the scenes that are working so hard to bring RISE to us in this virtual platform. So thank you to everyone at RISE. It's such an honor to be with you. What a time we are in. Never before have we collectively endured such an ongoing stress in our lives. And so I'm really excited to be here today to walk you through a few ways to move your body to hopefully create a little more space today. I don't know about you, but when I'm experiencing stress, lots of times I'm feeling really clenched, really tense. And so today's really about softening into the body, reminding ourselves that we have this incredible, miraculous body to help us heal and help us move through these challenging times. So as we allow people to arrive, see if you can make any adjustments in your space to make your experience a little more comfortable. You can grab pillows, you can grab blankets, you can grab blocks, any kind of equipment that would help you feel more comfortable in your practice. Please feel free to grab that now. And as always, with any of the classes that I teach, it's really important that I mention that it's by invitation only. So if you come here today and you lie down and listen to what I'm saying, that is yoga. If you try a little bit and then want to switch it up, that is yoga. Let whatever happens on your mat today be enough for you. So often when we're experiencing stress, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to have to do more and have to be more. And so really just honoring wherever you're at today is all I ask of you. Everything today is by invitation. So we're going to start our practice in a comfortable seated position. I'm sitting cross-legged, but if you'd like, you can also maybe prop the hips up on a pillow or cushion. If sitting cross-legged is uncomfortable, you can unravel the feet a little bit. Whatever feels comfortable for you to come to a seated position. And the reason I start this today is because you've got a great day ahead of presenters. And so this is a little more energized than lying on the back to start. As you're comfortable, you may wish to take the hands to the knees or gently place one hand on the lower abdomen, one hand over the heart, if that feels comfortable, or gently placing both hands to heart. Just finding an option that feels really connected for you in this moment. And we're going to spend a few moments together just grounding into this present moment, giving ourselves permission to be here fully for ourselves, knowing that that to-do list can just gently be put to the side just for the next 45 minutes or so. Taking a few moments to bring your awareness all the way down to the soles of both feet. Maybe give the toes a little wiggle. And gently scanning up through each of the major joints of the body, through the knees, the hips, the abdomen, the upper chest. And just spending a few moments dropping your awareness into your body. What are the physical sensations that you notice in this moment? Maybe there's heat. Maybe there's a dull ache, an itch. And we're just taking inventory here without attaching any evaluation or judgment. We're just being present with our experience as it's unfolding in this moment. Spending as much time scanning up and down the body, just noticing what is the physical tone of your body as we arrive to this space together. And as you continue to scan, taking inventory of your emotional tone in this moment. Where does emotion live in your body? Perhaps you notice a little heaviness in the heart, maybe some butterflies or nerves in the abdomen. Maybe you notice some tension in the neck, or even a furrowed brow. And again, just noticing without judgment, what are the emotions that are at the surface in this moment? So often when we experience chronic stress, we tend to ignore the physical and emotional cues that our mind and body are sending to us, letting us know what is needed. And so this simple act of hands to heart or gentle contact and just bringing awareness to the body is in fact yoga. Noticing the breath now, if it feels comfortable, taking a hand to the lower abdomen, one hand to heart, and just observing the breath travel between both hands. Maybe you notice a subtle rise and fall of the hands on the in-breath. Maybe you notice the quality of the breath. Maybe it feels smooth. Maybe the breath feels a little jagged today. Maybe it gets stuck. That's okay. As we start to pay attention to our breath, we naturally move into a little more rhythmic breath pattern. And there's no special way in this moment that you need to breathe. Your body already knows. So we're just tuning in. We're just experiencing the awareness of breath moving in and out of our body. If it feels comfortable for you, perhaps a gentle bow of the head downwards, an act of reverence and self-compassion. Sending yourself maybe words of affirmation, or perhaps setting an intention for your practice today. Maybe you silently repeat to yourself, I am enough in this moment. Or may I be at peace and ease today. Whatever feels natural for you, just extending yourself a few words of compassion, affirmation, or intention. Beautiful. Gently bringing your awareness back to this space, fluttering the eyes open if they were closed. And we're going to begin with some gentle spinal awakening movements as we begin our practice. So taking both hands to either of the knees, we're going to use the hands as an anchor here. On your next out breath, taking a lean back, trusting that your hands have got you. You're going to lean back as far as comfortable, and we're going to stitch the belly in towards the spine, round through the shoulders, and tuck the chin towards the throat. Spread the shoulder blades wide, just noticing this experience of opening up the back body. You can stay here as long as you'd like. As you're comfortable, we're going to move through center ever so slowly. Glide the tailbone back behind you. Open the heart. Lead with the heart here. And if it feels comfortable, take the gaze and lift the chin to the sky. Take a big breath into the body. And as you exhale, we're going to come all the way back, leaning back in our seat, trusting that our hands have got us. Scoop through the belly, round through the shoulders, chin to chest. Spread those shoulder blades wide. Just notice that opening. And inhale through center. Tuck the tailbone far behind you. Lead with the heart. Lean forward. And notice what it feels like to take the gaze and chin up towards the sky. Beautiful. And you can do 2 or 3 more rotations on your own pace and time. And just a gentle opening through the spine here. When we experience stress, we go through the stress cycle where we mobilize, we fight or flight or flee off that threat or danger, and then we return to a relaxed state. But when stress is chronic, when it gets compounded day in and day out, it's really difficult to move that stressful energy out of the body. So we start with subtle movements in the spine to just create a little more space and really stimulate our nervous system here. So now we're going to actually move the spine side to side. So we did forwards and backwards. Let's go ahead and inhale the arms high to the sky, big breath in. And as you exhale, cross the front arm over top of the body to the opposite knee. The back hand just acts as a kickstand behind you. As you're comfortable, we're going to inhale, take a breath, lift and lengthen. And as you exhale, draw a gentle twist, perhaps taking the gaze out past that back shoulder. And you might notice this gentle constriction through the body, and it creates a little bit of challenge for the breath to get down low. That's okay. This is on purpose. So as best you can, notice what it feels like to breathe deeply into the lower belly. And on your next out breath, we're slowly going to unravel back towards center. And just notice the sensation of releasing that twist. You might feel a little heat, a little flushing. That fresh oxygenated blood has now moved to the organs. So let's go ahead, opposite side. Inhale, breath, and arms up to the sky. Exhale, gently twisting to the opposite side. Notice what it feels like to lift and lengthen the spine, and then gently twist on the out breath. And just like we wring out a towel to get rid of all that water, the same kind of idea here through the torso, really detoxifying movement to twist, helps with our digestion, helps create a little more space through the abdomen when we release. Let's go ahead and exhale back to center. Beautiful job. And we'll do one more rotation. So arms up, big breath in, exhale, twist. See if you can stay for 2 slow breaths, or you can spend more time, whatever you wish. And exhaling, unraveling. Let's inhale the arms high and exhale, twist to the opposite side. Beautiful job. Let's go ahead and unravel back to center, and feel free to come back to any of those movements anytime you'd like. So I like to do a 360 movement with the spine. So we've gone forwards and backwards. We've twisted side to side. Now we're going to do some lateral side bends to get us a different C curve into the spine. So notice what it feels like to take the arms wide, maybe touching the finger pads onto the mat. You may notice already a little bit of that nervy sensation as we open up through the upper arms. This is normal. And if that feels too uncomfortable, just tiptoe the hands back towards your center a little bit more. Okay, so we start to open here. We lift and lengthen, lead with the heart. And when you feel ready, we're gently going to plant one hand on our favorite side and lift the opposite arm up and over top of the ear. And notice if that hip wants to pop up off the mat. See if you can gently anchor it back down. And we lift up out of that pelvic girdle, getting a nice side body stretch. If it feels comfortable, perhaps taking the breath into the ribs. Really noticing the breath, creating a little bit of space through each of the ribs. Beautiful. Let's exhale, come back to center, and we're going to flow to the opposite side. And it's completely normal to notice if one side feels a little more tender, a little more tense than the other. We all have some asymmetry, so that's totally normal to feel that. Taking that breath, sending breath all the way down to that hip and side body that's opening here. Just really notice, be aware of the breath as you let it travel to that side body. Beautiful. Let's come back through center, and we'll go opposite side. One more rotation. And when you feel ready, we'll come to that final side. Beautiful. And back to center whenever you're ready. And take a few moments to make some intuitive movements in your body. So if you want to do some circles with the hips, if you want to roll the shoulders up and back, or maybe do some neck tilts, just take a few moments to listen to what does your body need in this moment in terms of how does it need to move to get some of that stuck energy out of your system. Often when we are in a class where we are directed, it can feel a little uncomfortable to be told to be intuitive with your body. And so that's on purpose. It's designed to really help you trust that your body knows what it needs in this moment. You don't always need me. So just take a few moments to make any adjustments that feel good in your body. Beautiful job. As you're comfortable, we're going to extend one leg out to the side into a single wide-legged stretch. The other leg gently tucks in towards your center line. If you're finding that having the full leg extension is a bit intense for you, you can always pop the knee up. You can create a little bend in the knee. Really important that you feel protected and comfortable doing this. You might already feel a beautiful stretch here in the leg, and if so, just gently placing the hands down in front and lengthening through the spine. This is beautiful. This is opening through the leg. As you're comfortable, you may wish to experiment with taking the same arm on the same side and connecting the elbow to the inside of the knee. And if you can't get the body down to that connection, that's okay. We bend the knee and the arm is on the inside of that leg. Okay, so we adjust, we modify based on what our body needs in this moment. The elbow-knee connection is a really critical point of this movement, and I'm going to show you why next. So on your next breath in, float the opposite arm up and over top of the ear as if it was trying to reach for the toes. Spend as much time as you'd like breathing into any spaces that could use some softening. And then as you're comfortable, checking in with that elbow-knee connection. Create a little gentle pressure by drawing the elbow into the knee so that you can rotate your torso up towards the sky. So often, again, when we're in the stress response, our body wants to be small and protected. It wants to collapse forwards. And so we use this elbow-knee connection to open up the body, to expand. The way that we alleviate stress is through expansion of the body, not constriction, but expansion. Beautiful. Stay here as long as you'd like. As you're comfortable, you can float that top hand just behind the hip on the same side, and we're going to lift the hips high. Extend that top arm way behind you. Create the longest line between the tips of the toes all the way up through the fingers. Big belly breath. And as you exhale, let's slowly come back down to the floor. Beautiful job. Taking a moment now to find yourself in a wide-legged seated shape. So both legs are out at about a 45-degree angle. You can draw them closer if that's more comfortable. You can take them wider if that's more comfortable. Sometimes I find elevating my hips up on a block can actually be a little more comfortable too. So feel free to modify as you see fit. So just grounding through the sit bones here, really feeling the connection to the earth. Let's inhale, grow the arms high to the sky. And as you exhale, hinge forward from the hips and just come to your level of comfort and draw the hands to the floor. Okay, this is not something that you need to push, pull, or be in any pain over. Just a gentle hip opening, gentle inner thigh opening as we create that expansion in the body. You may wish to gently tuck the chin towards the throat. And just notice, scanning through the body, where might you use your breath to soften into any tension here? Can you soften through the shoulders? Notice if the jaw is clenched. Maybe soften through the forehead. As you're comfortable, let's slowly tiptoe the hands back to center. And we're going to come to the opposite side, single leg, side-legged stretch. Okay, so again, Each side might feel a little bit different. So just making the modifications that feel best in your body. If you need to bring a bend to the knee, awesome, do that. Really listen to yourself today. We start by gently placing the hands in front and growing the spine tall. And as you feel comfortable, you can then walk the elbow of the arm on the same side to the inside of the knee. Keep a little bend in the leg if that's a little more comfortable for you. Inhale the opposite arm up and over top of the ears towards the toes. And send breath into any areas that could use a little bit of softening today. Now we're going to just experiment with that elbow-knee connection. So we gently draw the elbow into the knee so we can rotate and take our gaze, take our heart up towards the sky. Notice what that feels like and how it just changes the stretch slightly in your body. We have this massive muscle, the quadratus lumborum, that extends into our lower back across the hips. And when we sit for long periods of time, if we commute, our QL muscle can get really tight. So this elbow-knee connection allows us to really open up that QL. Let's take that top arm just behind the hip on the same side. We're going to press into the hip press into the hand to lift the hips high. Extend the leg out in front and reach the arm back. Find your longest line between the tips of the toes all the way through the fingers. Just taking a big breath into the hips, into the belly. Feel the belly rise and exhale. Slowly come back down. Awesome job. So we've warmed up the spine, we've warmed up our torso and part of our hips. And so we're going to take a few moments now to find ourselves into tabletop position here. Okay, so we gently come onto our hands and knees. Knees are about hip width apart. And the palms are gently underneath the shoulders here. Fingers spread wide. And just really noticing what it feels like to ground through the palms of the hands, to send energy up the arms into the shoulders. Elbow creases gently shine towards each other, shoulder caps away from the ears. A gentle stitch of the belly button towards the spine. And just notice the connection here. Notice the feeling of stability and balance in your tabletop position. This is a really helpful shape in the body when we're feeling a little out of balance. And so we come to tabletop to remind ourselves that we've got ourselves. We are supporting ourselves. We've got this. So we're going to get a little playful in our tabletop here. On your next inhale, notice what it feels like to send the right leg back behind you to come into a three-legged tabletop. Always remember you can take that leg back down if you need support. And we just notice our experience. You might feel a little vibration in the body, a little shaking. That's okay. That's your body working for you. And so let's exhale that right leg back down. Maybe send the hip side to side to flush out that movement. And we're going to come to the opposite side now. Notice what it feels like to extend that left leg long. Notice if you can keep the core engaged, belly button lifted. Soften through the forehead, unclench the jaw, breathe. Let's exhale, lower back down. So you can come to one of those variations, or if you'd like, on your next inhale, we can extend the right leg long, and at the same time, Lengthen the left arm out in front. Okay, notice how that changes the movement in the body. Let's exhale, release. Flush it out if you need to. And we'll come to the opposite side now. So exhale the left leg long. Find that support. And then if you'd like, extend the right arm long in front as we work to really balance and stabilize our body. It's okay if the shake is happening. Connect to your breath. And as you exhale, slowly release back down. Beautiful job. And just shake out the hips side to side. Excellent. Okay, from here, we're going to move into our first downward facing dog today. And so we are really gentle with ourselves to start. So we're going to tuck the toes under at the back. And we're going to lift the knees an apple height up off the ground to really connect to our core. Notice what it feels like to engage that core. And we want to keep the core engaged as we lift the hips high to the sky and float the feet and ankles down to the mat. Drawing energy through the thumb, first finger, and middle finger, we press into the floor to allow the hips to rise. Notice what it feels like to melt the ankles down towards the mat and taking the gaze perhaps just to the tops of the knees or thighs. If you'd like, you can experiment with walking out the dog here. So bending either knee. We're just really working through the backs of the legs. So often, especially if we have been sitting for long periods of time, the backs of the legs get a little neglected. And so we're just working through stretching those muscles out. Beautiful job. With as many steps as you need, we're going to tiptoe the feet towards the hands. And we're going to bend the knees a lot. Notice what it feels like to melt the upper body over top of the thighs. Take as much bend in the knees as you need. And we come into a ragdoll shape. If you'd like, you can experiment with what it feels like to lengthen the legs, coming into a standing forward fold. But always feel free to take that bend in the knees, whatever feels best in your body. Give the head a little yes, a little no. Soften through the shoulders here. And as you're comfortable, we're slowly, slowly, slowly going to rise up one vertebrae at a time until we come to standing. So beautiful job. Okay, so take a sip of water, adjust, whatever you need to do, and we're going to start our standing series here. So as you're comfortable, taking it to the top of your mat, and we're going to come into Tadasana or mountain, standing mountain. So a couple of ways. If you'd like, you can bring both toes together, heels slightly apart, or you can widen the stance and have both feet facing forwards, whatever feels best for you in this moment. The invitation is to draw the eyes to a close, to really settle into this awareness of your body. But always feel free to keep the eyes open or take the gaze off the tip of your nose if needed. Spend a few moments just experimenting with what it feels like to bring weight into the toes and then rock the weight back into the heels. So this idea of really feeling the entire sole of the foot grounded into the mat. Okay, this is a really grounding movement in the body. Helps us get out of that anxious thought loop when we just drop the awareness down low to the feet. So often our awareness is above the neck, not down into the body. And then when you feel comfortable, come to settle into a stance that feels equal in both feet as best you can. Imagine and envision you drawing energy up from the earth beneath you. And so we energize through the legs. So you might feel that gentle lift of the kneecap to engage the thighs, perhaps rotating the inner thighs towards each other. Notice the abdomen and core. See if you can gently curl the tailbone underneath you and stitch that lower belly in towards the spine. So often we have a really tough time with that core engagement. We might look like we're sticking our bum out. So just notice that gentle movement of curling the tailbone underneath and lifting the lower abdomen in towards the spine. Palms can gently face open. And we continue to draw energy up through the body as we come to an empowered stance. And every moment, every day, empowerment might feel different in your body. And so just notice for today, what does it feel like to come to an empowered stance? Generally, we have a slight rotation of the shoulders back behind us. Our heart is lifted. Maybe a little opening of the throat here. And again, we're countering that stress response. Stress wants us to collapse inwards, wants us to stay small, wants us to constrict. And so Tadasana Mountain is such a powerful shape in the body that doesn't get enough credit to really expand and be in our empowerment. And so spending as much time as you need in this beautiful shape. Maybe taking the right corner of your mouth up towards the right corner of the eye and the left corner of the mouth to the left corner of the eye. Beautiful. We're going to move now into a few balancing movements in the body. If you need a chair or need to be close to a wall to assist you, absolutely feel free. We're going to come into tree. And so taking a few moments to shift the weight into one foot, your choice. If it feels comfortable, perhaps lifting all 5 toes up off the mat and really feeling that entire surface of the sole into the mat, and then spreading the 5 toes down wide. The opposite leg, you have a couple options here. You can take the sole of the opposite foot to the ankle. You can take the sole of the foot to the calf. You can lift the sole of the foot to the inner thigh above the knee. We don't want to push on the knee joint directly. Or if you know full lotus or half lotus with the foot, you can take that option. Okay, if neither one of those is available, just gently bringing a bend to the knee and coming to a tiptoe is still working that balance. You're still getting benefit. Okay, so if you'd like, you can take the hands to the hips and find the variation that feels comfortable for you. And dropping the gaze about 6 inches off the tip of the nose. And you can choose an option for your hands. So your hands can be at the hips, or you can take the hands to the heart center. And we just take a few breaths here, really noticing the connection happening through this movement. The bottom foot is connected to the floor. The opposite foot is connected to that leg. Whoop. And it's okay if you fall out of balance. This is a practice. This is where we get to practice falling out of balance and coming right back in. As a little challenge, if you'd like, you can grow the arms tall and break open the leaves, coming into the full expression of tree. And the invitation here is to get a little playful. So taking a moment to think about a different variation for the arms, Or if you're feeling courageous, you can take the eyes to a close and practice what that feels like. So just taking a few moments to choose something that gets you out of balance, knowing that you can come right back in. I wish I could see all of you right now. Let's take the hands back to the hips. We'll slowly release that leg. Whew, and walk out the foot that was supporting you. So take some time to really roll through the toes, stretch through the feet, shake the leg out if that feels comfortable. Okay, so the beauty of tree pose is really practicing this idea of being in and out of balance and trusting that you can get right back in. I don't know about you, but this pandemic has really brought to light how many times I've fallen out of balance. And so tree pose is one of those beautiful shapes that we can practice on our mat so that we take those learnings into our lives afterwards. So let's come to the opposite side now. Whatever leg you didn't choose first, now coming to that opposite side. And we're going to take the weight into that sole of the foot, lifting all 5 toes, and then spreading them back down, just feeling that solid connection to the mat. You choose the option that feels best for you on this side, and it doesn't have to be the exact same. Again, we all have a different level of balance on either side, so it doesn't have to look the exact same. And then choosing the hands can be at the hips or at the heart center. And the gaze just comes off the tip of the nose. And we just allow ourselves to really be with this balance, seeing all the ways that the body is working to keep us into balance, and to just experience a little lighthearted smile if you get out of balance. If you have that wobble, that's okay. We practice returning after we fall out of balance, just like we would in life. We practice the return, which can sometimes be so hard. Let's go ahead and bring the hands above the head into breaking open our leaves and shining our leaves today, maybe twinkling the fingers. And then getting a little playful on this side. So maybe choosing an option you didn't the last time. So maybe that means taking the eyes to a close for a moment, or doing something different with the hands. And if you get out of balance, just bring yourself right back in. That was me trying to shut my eyes. And so we just have some fun. We have a little bit of a playful moment here. And when you're ready, hands back to the hips. Let's release that leg. Whew, and feel that lactic acid, that lots of work in that foot, just flush out of the body. So shake the legs out if you need. Okay. So we're going to take it back to the top of the mat, and we're going to flow into a beautiful hip opening series here. Okay, so as you're at the top of the mat, find your way into Tadasana, and we're going to inhale the arms high to the sky. Take the gaze through the fingertips as well, and nice and slow and controlled, as slow as you'd like, we float the body into a forward fold. Inhale, lift, rise to a flat back, and exhale, we're going to take our left leg back behind us. And if you'd like, you can drop that left knee onto the mat. If you want a little more strength, you can keep that left knee activated. If you want to work on flexibility, then just take that left knee to the mat. If you have blocks, you can take blocks to either side of the foot and place the hands there if that feels comfortable. Or altogether, taking the hands to the knee. And we come into a modified runner's lunge here. Okay, Once you find that comfort level, see what it feels like to melt the hips down towards the mat. And we draw the hips forwards into that bent knee. So the muscle that we're working through right now is called the psoas muscle. This is the muscle that crosses over that hip crease, and it lives and inserts onto our big thigh bone. And it starts and originates in our thoracic spine. Our psoas muscle is our brace for impact muscle. This is the muscle that is directly linked to the stress or trauma response. Think about if you're driving a car and you slam on the brakes, that first instinct is to, we clench the body, and the psoas muscle is the muscle that braces us for that impact. Okay? Oftentimes with chronic stress or even trauma exposure, our psoas muscle can remain contracted because it's protecting you. And so it's really important when you feel comfortable to spend time really opening through that muscle. And I'm going to tell you why in a moment. So just noticing if you want to add any variation to this movement, you may wish to float the arms high above the head. You may also wish to come to a slight back bend. Okay. Or you may wish to fold forward and just bring the hands to the floor. Whatever feels comfortable for you. Very slowly and mindfully, we're going to start to bend into that back knee and just shift the weight of the hips backwards. Okay, it's really intense, powerful movement through the psoas muscle. And so we just mindfully move our body slowly out of that movement. Okay, we're going to come back into that modified runner's lunge for just a moment here. When you feel ready, we're going to take the arms up to the sky. And on our next out breath, we're going to twist the opposite elbow. So the left elbow comes over top of the right knee. And we squeeze our hands together in prayer, lifting the right elbow up towards the sky. So we're now adding a little twist to this movement. Okay, so this just, again, creates space through the abdomen. Really detoxifying movement, really helps with digestion. And spend as much time as you'd like there. We're going to gently unravel both hands to the floor. And again, slowly sink the hips back towards the feet and ankles. And however much time it takes, heel toe, heel toe, heel toe, back into tabletop, and we're going to windshield wiper the hips out. Awesome. So it's all about balance. So now we're going to move into the opposite side. So however you'd like. If you want to do a downward dog vinyasa into runner's lunge, you can. Or we can tiptoe now the left leg in front. And we extend that right leg back behind us. So just gauge, the further apart the knees are, the more intensive a stretch you're going to get. The closer the knees are together, the intensity softens a little bit. So just choosing the option that feels best for you. You can also roll up your mat for a little cushion under your knee, or you can actually use a towel or cushion. And then choosing the option that feels best in your body. You can keep the hands right to the floor. Maybe you notice what it feels like to bring the hands to the knee. Or perhaps you notice what it feels like to extend the arms up towards the sky. So now we're opening through the psoas on the right side. And so here's the hidden secret of the magic of our psoas muscle. Where the psoas inserts on the vertebrae is the same location where our diaphragm inserts. And so really thinking about it, if your psoas muscle is contracted, it's pulling down on our diaphragm. And our diaphragm is this beautiful domed shape. So when it's getting pulled on, the diaphragm flattens. And so that really makes it inefficient for us to breathe deeply. If the diaphragm is rigid and doesn't have a lot of movement, our breathing becomes really rapid, really shallow. We might feel like we can't quite get over top of our breath. And so that's why I talk you through holding this movement for a while, because I know it's excruciating. And I got big shoulders. If you're silently cursing me right now, that's okay. It's a good thing. But this psoas muscle is really the most important muscle, in my opinion, linked to our stress response. And so if it's one thing you take away today, it's really taking inventory of how often do you spend opening up your psoas muscle? Okay, and can you embed more moments? This doesn't have to be an hour. This can be, 10 seconds. Can you build more moments of opening through that psoas muscle? Okay, beautiful job. Let's exhale the hands to the mat and all together make any sigh or groan that you need. And we're going to take the hips back towards the ankles and just alleviate that intensity from that psoas muscle. Beautiful work. Hip work is heart work and hard work. Let's come back for just a moment more into that modified lunge. And we're going to inhale, float the arms to the sky. Exhale, cross that right elbow over top of the left knee. Hands come together in prayer. So we have a twisted runner's lunge here. Find your breath. And whenever you feel ready, let's take the hands back to the mat. We slowly draw the hips back towards that back ankle. And with as much time and grace, we move that opposite leg back to tabletop. Spend as much time as you need, maybe taking some circles in the hips, side to side, windshield wiper. You did it. Beautiful job. That's really intense, powerful work for the hips. And so really important throughout your day to just monitor if perhaps you could hydrate a little more, and also if any difficult emotions come to the surface. Okay, it's not uncommon when we open through the hips that we allow space for some repressed emotions to come to the surface. So just being extra gentle with yourself today. So the moment everyone is waiting for, let's come all the way down to the floor on our back. And we're going to take the feet wide to the edges of the mat and drop the knees inwards towards each other. Hands can gently be placed on the lower abdomen or out at 45 degrees. We're just taking a moment to really integrate all the movement that we've done today. And the invitation is to really think about what is your relationship with final rest. In many of the yoga classes I teach, so many people race through the final minutes of their yoga practice. And so I always love reminding folks that our Eastern philosophers, our Eastern gurus that created the practice of yoga, created this practice to prepare us for rest. But in our westernized society, we don't always give ourselves permission to be in rest. We think we have to work harder, do more, or we don't have time for rest. And so really honoring the next few moments of slowing it down, of being in rest, knowing that you are worthy of rest. It doesn't have to be earned. You're already worthy of taking rest. And so this gentle restorative shape in the body where the knees are bent and knees are together is really helpful for anyone that has sciatic nerve pain. Just alleviates the compression of that hip joint in the socket. And so just taking 2 or 3 cycles of breath and just noticing the sensation of melting the body, feeling fully held, fully supported by the floor beneath you. You can continue to breathe into this shape, into this form as long as you'd like. As an invitation, extending the left leg long and gently drawing that right knee up inwards towards the chest. A gentle squeeze here, a gentle compression of that right knee in towards the right underarm. And this is really detoxifying, powerful movement for our digestion. We're working with the flow of our peristalsis. And so our right side body, we're stimulating the ascending colon here. Parts of our liver, parts of our stomach, parts of our small intestines. And you can keep the hands wrapped around that knee, gently hugging the knee inwards, or if you'd like, the option is to clasp the right knee with the left hand and gently roll that right knee across the body off the left side of the mat. The right arm can extend out into a T formation, or maybe you want to have cactus arms with a bent elbow. And then just keeping the shoulders both connected to the floor as we come into this supine twist. Spend as much time as you'd like here, gently unraveling, and we'll release that right leg long and come to the opposite side, hugging that left knee in towards the chest. And then choose the variation that feels comfortable. You can keep that left knee hugging in towards the left underarm, or you can gently draw that left knee up and over top of the body, coming into a supine twist. Just slowing the breath down, really noticing and scanning through the body, just like we began. And just taking inventory of the physical and emotional tone of the body after this practice. Gently unraveling and coming to find your way into final Shavasana, final rest. And the invitation here is to really embody what it feels like to take up space on your mat, to own your mat and take up space. When we're dealing with difficult emotions, either linked to the pandemic or past trauma or chronic stress, we sometimes shrink ourselves. And so right now, collectively, can we commit to expanding ourselves, knowing that we are worthy of taking up space? Dropping the awareness into your body, noticing the breath as it comes into the body, and noticing the breath as it leaves the body. I will leave you with one of my favorite quotes of all time by the late Maya Angelou. She says, "People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did. but people will never forget how you made them feel. So contemplating this quote, thinking about when you feel like you've nourished yourself, when you've practiced self-care, when you've extended yourself your own compassion, how that trickles out and how that makes other people feel in your presence. And so as we continue to navigate the stress of the pandemic, it's more important than ever before that we collectively commit to making it to our mat, whether that's yoga or another practice like being in nature, painting, crafting, singing, dancing, to return to these very practices that replenish, restore, and nourish our mind and our body. I want to thank each and every one of you for making it to your mat today. We will be back shortly with our next speaker. And for anybody who wishes to ask questions or has any comments, please feel free to come to my breakout room right after this session, and I'll be around to answer your questions. So may we all be mindful in our thoughts, in our words, and in our hearts. Thank you for being here today. Namaste.